It's Mike Gill's Fine Five and Ugly Five on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
Yes, it's time for the fines and the uglies. These are the 5 best and 5 worst teams. Josh?
Mike?
Interested to hear yours as we start off with the ugly fives. Number 5, this is the 5th worst team in football. There's a battle here, as it seemingly is each and every week. This week in the ugly 5, we go Miami at 1-4, losers of 2 straight. A team that very nondescript. Don't have a lot of stars, don't have a lot of players that stand out. Right now, the Miami Dolphins check in at my number 5 spot in the ugly 5.
The Dolphins are in my rankings, but they're not as low as 5. I actually have the Bears at 5. You know, the Bears have a couple of nice players, but overall the team lacks talent.
Got injury issues, too.
And I kind of am starting to wonder if John Fox is the right coach for that situation.
They brought that up yesterday. I think there's going to be 8 to 9 head coaching changes, and he was one that I mentioned. Number 4 on the list, how about those San Diego Superchargers? Could be their last year in San Diego. They've given up 142 points. They've lost 3 in a row. Injuries are an issue. I grant you that, losing Keenan Allen, losing Woodard. Just a team right now that I think the Rivers era might be coming to a close, or maybe needs to come to a close for the Superchargers.
I also have the Chargers at my number 4. And mostly they're number 4 because do you know that the Chargers have led for the most minutes of any NFL team this season? Not the Eagles, not the Cowboys, not the Vikings, not the Patriots. No, the Chargers. That shows you how poor this team is at holding a win.
Number 3, it's the Bears who stay on this list. And the Bears are a team that can't score. They've only scored 85 points. They've given up 126. As you mentioned, they got issues with injuries, but they're also now going to be in a spot where they've got a quarterback controversy coming up. And when you have quarterback controversy, that just boils over to a team that's struggling. And the Bears right now, journeyman Brian Hoyer is more thought of in that locker room than Jay Cutler.
Yeah, it's saying a lot. But my number 3 team is the same team I had at number 3 last week, which is the Dolphins, Mike. I feel the Dolphins have digressed from last year. Remember when they fired their coach, they were a motivated bunch, and they were all invested in winning and blah, 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 blah. Well, that blah, blah, blah has spilled over to a lot of nothing this year. I think Adam Gase is in way over his head as this team is playing totally uninterested.
Thankfully, sometimes the guy you want walks out the door. Realistically, Philadelphia wanted Adam Gase, right? The first time you look back to that, the first time he came here, that was the story. They wanted Adam Gase. They didn't want him to get out of that building. And so far, it looks like it's working out that he got out of that building and that the Miami Dolphins went after him. All right, number 2 on the list. They've lost 4 in a row. They've given up 140 points, and they've made a quarterback change themselves. Colin Kaepernick will be the new starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. I guess this is his last chance here. There's a guy who's been to the Super Bowl, been to the NFC Championship game. Many people thought was the perfect quarterback for Chip Kelly's system. If he can't succeed in this offense, I think this is the last we'll see of Kaepernick in the NFL for a multitude of reasons.
Colin Kaepernick, about 20 pounds less than he was when they went to the Super Bowl several years ago. I can't believe it was that long ago as well. It was like 4 years ago now. But, the thing with Kaepernick is that they got rid of his money. They got rid of the guaranteed money. So they can put him out there without having to worry about him getting injured and having to pay him.
That was like the Robert Griffin III situation last year.
Right.
They didn't want him to get hurt because then his money would be an issue. So they restructured the deal with Kaepernick. Now Kaepernick's out in the field. And he should have been starting from jump street.
Day one, absolutely.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. The worst team in the league. I mean, they're the only team that doesn't have a win. They play hard. Yeah, they play hard. But Cleveland, look, you can't have it all, Cleveland. You got the NBA champions. You've got the second, one of the best 2 baseball teams in baseball, American League right now. But your 148 points you've given up is an issue. Your 87 points that you've scored is a problem. And your 5 straight losses has you in the top spot in this week's Ugly 5.
And on top of everything else, so they've started Robert Griffin III, Josh McCown are both out with injuries now. Cody Kessler, then he got injured. Then Clipboard Jesus came in. Charlie Whitehurst played. Then he got injured. Terrell Pryor came in. Then this week they released Charlie Whitehurst and they promote Kevin Hogan to the roster.
That's your boy, Kevin Hogan.
My boy, Kevin Hogan.
Not to be confused with the wide receiver that's playing with the Patriots, Chris Hogan. This is Kevin Hogan. Because
Stanford.
If it was New England, they'd probably play Chris Hogan at quarterback and probably still win.
Exactly.
All right, let's look at the 5 best teams. This is hard. The 5 best are hard this week. These are called the Fine 5. These are the 5 teams that we think are the 5 best teams in the league. I'm going to go with number 5. I got to put them in there this week because they might never get back. That's the Atlanta Falcons. They beat Denver on the road. They've scored 175. The one thing I don't like about Atlanta that I'm, not sure they'll get back on my list is that 140 points they've given up. But they've won 4 in a row. They did win in Denver. So for this week, Atlanta, you're in my Fine 5.
Atlanta is not in my Fine 5. My number 5, I dropped the Broncos to 5 because, I feel part of the reason why that they lost was Paxton Lynch. I think Lynch was very not ready for the moment. I think he's still got a lot of growing and developing to do. You could tell that the Broncos, who were a ball control team, couldn't control the ball because of Lynch. So I think the Falcons took advantage of a very opportune opportunity.
What he said. Number 4. See, when you beat a team in their home building, like Philadelphia beats Pittsburgh in Philly, less impactful than Atlanta going to Denver and beating you in Denver. That's why I have Atlanta over Denver for this week. Number 4 on my list. How about them Cowboys? I really like what they've done with the game plan, giving the ball to Elliott. I think the kid Prescott. Look, when you talk glowingly about Wentz, you can't talk glowingly about Wentz without putting Prescott in that conversation too. See, I'm not that big of a Cowboy hater. And when they deserve credit, I give it to them. And they deserve it this week. They're number 4 in this week's Fine 5.
They are not in my Fine 5 either, Mike, although they were my number 6 team. I had them at number 6, so they're hanging on the outside looking in. Now, the number 4 team, I am inserting the Packers here because I feel like the Packers are doing something that I'm actually very happy about, which is playing defense. When the Packers play defense, I think you can focus less on having Aaron Rodgers be perfect. He threw 2 interceptions this week. They still won the game. The defense did their job against the Giants.
Where's all the Dallas fans that always text me and tweet me that tell me I don't like their team? I'm only saying it because I don't like them.
Mike, I'm still waiting for all the Mets fans to applaud me for picking them to make the postseason.
Proud of you.
I don't really care.
Number 3 is this week's number 3 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, we're going with the Steelers this week. Hey, I think Ben Roethlisberger might be playing the best quarterback in the NFL right now. 139 points for the Steelers offense. They've got Bell back. They've got Brown playing at a high level. They've got Roethlisberger. And guess what? Their defense ain't bad either. And that's why Pittsburgh is this week's number 3 team in the Fine 5.
They are also my number 3 team because I like the way they've bounced back for 2 games, not just 1 game, from the Eagles' loss. I look at this team. When I saw the Eagles' loss, all I think of is, remember when the Patriots got destroyed by the Chiefs in Kansas City a couple years ago? And they went on to win the Super Bowl. I feel like the Steelers are set up for a similar trajectory.
Number 2, it's the Patriots. Tom Brady's back, which means they're knocking on the door for number 1. But not this week. Not when you beat Cleveland. Although if you put 406 yards and 3 touchdowns after sunbathing nude, that gets you a chance to move up to number 1. But it won't be this week, New England. You're number 2 in this week's Fine 5.
While sunbathing nude sounds painful, I do have to make the Vikings my number 2 because, to me, the Patriots got most of their wins without Tom Brady and with an injured Jacoby Brissett. So the Vikings, they're knocked down a notch. I do believe the Vikings are the best defense I've seen so far in the NFL. I have to give them a lot of credit for how they're utilizing their running backs without Adrian Peterson. Sam Bradford, perfect fit for Norv Turner's offense.
All right, number 1, it's Minnesota. And the reason is, well, Minnesota's got the best defense in the league. Bar none. They've given up 63 points. And by the way, that guy Bradford, he's not playing poorly either. They're winning without Peterson. They're winning without a couple of their offensive linemen who have gone down. They're winning without Bridgewater, and they're still 5-0. Maybe the best story of the season is the Minnesota Vikings at 5-0. They're number 1 in this week's Fine 5.
My number 1's the Patriots. I mentioned earlier, though the Vikings, my issue that keeps them out number 1 for me is I think the offensive line's going to give in at some point.
There you go. This week's Fine Five and Ugly Five. The 5 best, 5 worst teams in the NFL. We do it each and every week at this time. Who are your 5 best, 5 worst? Send us a text to the Dubell Lumber text board, 609-403-0973.